Hi everyone, I'm Ann Carlson, the founder and CEO of Jiminy's. At Jiminy's, we make sustainable dog food and treats. What makes it sustainable? Well, we replace the traditional animal protein, the cow or chicken, with cricket protein. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the product later, but first let's talk about why we did this. I often get asked, why is being eco-friendly or sustainable important to your company? Well, why is air important to breathe? I don't think there are any other options than to think eco-friendly or sustainable going forward. According to a UN study, we're going from 7.8 to 9.8 billion people by 2050. Now add in our dogs, who consume 36 billion pounds of protein in the US alone. It's just math. Thinking that you can continue on current paths of feeding is magical thinking. Our dogs are active, they're athletes, and as such they need a high quality protein to stay healthy and happy. But 36 billion pounds of protein is an enormous amount, and with traditional protein sources, it's just not sustainable. In fact, a UCLA study showed that our dogs and cats are responsible for 25 to 30% of the environmental impact of meat consumption in the US. We looked at all of this and we concluded that we needed change. So at Jiminy's, we replaced the traditional animal protein with cricket protein. It's delicious, nutritious, sustainable, humane, and hypoallergenic. But at the beginning, we didn't know all of that. And quite frankly, no one in the US was thinking that way either. So let's start with the core reason why we did this. It's sustainable. Cricket protein uses less land, emits almost no greenhouse gases, and requires less water. In fact, if you take a dog who's eating a chicken-based diet and switch them to a cricket-based diet, you and your dog are going to save 480,000 gallons of water per year. And that's just one dog. Talk about impact. The land savings are worth discussing as well. Cricket farming is close to ideal. There's no need for acres and acres of grassland. A cricket barn is self-contained, and there's no waste runoff to foul groundwater. Looking forward, insect farms have the ability to be placed within a city, so the footprint is extremely efficient and sustainable. Traditional protein sources produce huge amounts of methane. Cricket protein produces almost no methane, and methane is a far worse greenhouse gas than CO2. This is one of the places where you can see us directly combating climate change. So cricket protein is sustainable. There's really no question about that. But what's really fantastic is that it's also nutritious. It's a complete protein with all of the essential amino acids. But it also has vitamin B2 and B12 and iron and fiber, and the list goes on and on. It truly is a superfood. But this is an area where we knew we needed to do some work. Cricket protein was uncharted territory in the US, and so we knew that we needed to invest in the science behind it to prove out the benefits for the dogs. Even though we knew cricket protein had all of these great nutrients, there was still a question as to whether or not the dogs could digest it. So we decided to answer that question. We partnered with Iowa State and a few other partners as well to take a deep dive into digestibility. And great news, what we found is that the cricket protein is as digestible as cow or chicken. It's a high quality digestible protein for the dogs. Since we were already doing this intensive study with the dogs, we decided to add on a few more steps to look at the impact of the fiber that's a part of the cricket protein. And we got more good news. The fiber feeds the good bacteria in the dog's gut, or in other words, it's prebiotic. So we did all of these studies and they all went through peer review, but our work wasn't done. In order to do this right, we knew that we had to share the work with AAFCO. And this is where we had a decision point. Go for a traditional AAFCO ingredient definition or a GRAS classification. So for those of you who are not familiar, GRAS stands for Generally Recognized as Safe. Since insects have been eaten by people and dogs for thousands of years, we opted for GRAS. And then we realized that the dossier that you need to assemble to is essentially the same for the ingredient as it is for grass. Anyway, long story short, we assembled a panel of experts who reviewed the dossier and came to a consensus that crickets are a safe and nutritious protein source for dogs. So what else? Well, a recent study out of Germany confirmed that cricket protein is a great alternative for dogs with food sensitivities or allergies. That's why we call it hypoallergenic. And finally, you might be wondering about palatability. It's fantastic. The dogs love it. In fact, when we started, this was my first question. I ordered crickets online and I fed them to my dogs, and the drool started right away. They just loved it. And they don't overthink it. If you haven't tried Jiminy's yet, all I can say is give it a go. It's a great product. Pet parents love it, the dogs love it, it's great for the earth. It's wagging tails all around. Thank you.